Hey there, welcome to this episode of Sensible Home Cooking. I'm Ken and I'm here in my Sensible Home Kitchen. Today we're going to make stuffed peppers. So let's take a look at exactly what we're going to need to do that. So we're going to take a look at the recipe here on this old word processor. Now if this old Magnavox word processor is something that you're interested in, you can check out more of my collection of retro things on my other channel, CanadianRetroThings. So what we're going to need for today's recipe is a half a pound of lean ground pork, 5 peppers, 3 medium-sized mushrooms, 1 medium stalk of celery, half a medium-sized onion, 2 cloves of garlic, 2 Roma tomatoes, half a cup of finely sliced cabbage, half a cup of couscous, a half a cup of water or stock for cooking the couscous, 1 cup of grated cheese, a splash of tomato juice or stock for adding moisture to the mixture, and some seasoning. That will make you 5 peppers. I'm actually only going to make 4 peppers today because there's only 4 people I need to feed. But I'm also making a larger portion of the mixture because I like to take it to work with me for lunch. So I'm making supper and I'm making my lunch for at least tomorrow. All right, let's get cooking. The first thing that we have to do is preset the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit on baking, which is 190 degrees Celsius. So we need this to preheat. And here we have all of our vegetables laid out for us. The first thing we're going to do is the peppers. So what we want to do is cut the tops off of these. Also check the bottoms if they're peppers that won't stand up. Just cut a little bit of the bottom off to flatten it out. And that can be used for later. And then you cut the top off. And then just cut around the inside part. And give it a little twist and you can pull all the seeds and everything out. Take a little bit more of the fleshy part out. And there you go. It's ready to go. And now we'll do that with the others. And now that you've got all the little centers out, you can just give them a quick wash and put them on the baking pan, preparing to put them in the oven. The peppers are all cleaned out, and in the baking pan here, what we're going to do as soon as the oven is heated up, we're going to put them into the oven for 15 minutes so that they can just start to soften up a little bit before we stuff them. All right, so we'll set these aside for now. And we've got these pepper tops now that we can slice up. And those can be used in the mix of vegetables that we're going to stir fry. And we've given them all a nice rough chop so they can be set aside. And we'll move on to the next thing. So now we're going to chop up a couple of garlic cloves. Now we'll move on to the onion. Now score the onion to make chopping it into smaller bits much easier. There we go. That should be about enough onion. Another easy way for cutting these up into nice little bits for doing this is scoring it again, like that. And then just chop. Next, the mushrooms should also be cut into fairly small pieces. All right, the mushrooms are cut up. Some cabbage. And now with the tomatoes, we're going to want to just cut them up into small chunks. All right. Now that the tomatoes are cut up, everything's ready to go, we can start cooking everything. First thing we're going to do is put the peppers into the oven for 15 minutes. Now we've got a nice hot pan. We can throw the lean ground pork in, 1 pound of it. And using a good non-stick pan like this, I can cook it without using any oil or grease or fat or anything. So it stays nice and lean. And now we'll season the ground beef a bit with a little bit of Mrs. Dash, some salt-free herb flavoring. Now, while that's cooking, on the back burner, I have some vegetable stock that I made out of the vegetable trimmings of food I've been eating over the last few days. If you're interested in that, I showed you how to do that in the chicken couscous episode. I'll put a link in the video to that. But now I'm going to warm that up, and I'm going to be cooking the couscous in the broth to give it a little more flavor. All right, the broth is boiling. The pork is done, so we'll just put it on a plate for now. Now what we will do is we will add the onions and garlic back into this pan. I have my 1 cup of couscous here. So we'll put that in there. Get 1 cup of the stock into there. Put the lid back on. Give it a shake. And start stir frying up all the vegetables. So I just added the celery, the mushrooms, and the cabbage to the onions, and we'll let that all cook down a little bit. Now that we've warmed these vegetables through, we'll add the tomatoes. This will add a little moisture to the mix. And then at the end, you can add a little bit of moisture by adding some of the stock that I have warmed up on the stove here. Or you could have something like tomato juice. And the timer just went off for the 15 minutes on stuff in the stove here. So we will pull these out. They've just started to soften up and whatnot, so we'll set these to the side to cool a bit before we add the mixture to them. We're near the end of stir frying this stuff up, so we will add our chopped up peppers. But with those, we'll just leave them on the top for now. Leave it to cook for a few more minutes. Mix it all through. Then we'll add the couscous and the ground pork to it. Get it nice and warm. Then we can stuff the peppers. And that's nice and thoroughly warmed through everything. We'll give this a bit of a mix to get the peppers mixed through. And we can add all of this ground pork back into it. So now you can add your couscous. And if you want less carbs in this, you can just do it without the couscous. Now we'll just add a little bit of the vegetable stock here, just to keep everything nice and moist. And turn the heat off. It is now time to stuff the peppers. So you start by stuffing each one about half full. So once you're about half full, you take your shredded cheese, which is a mixture of white cheddar, Parmesan, and Havarti. And you put a bunch in to each. And now you mix in more of this. Now you top it with the cheese, and any leftover cheese can just go into the mixture there. Now this goes back into the oven at the 375 for about 25 minutes. And the timer just went off, so time to pull these out of the oven. There we go. Delicious stuffed peppers. So we'll just let those cool off for a little while before we plate them and try them. It's time to try this. So I like to present it with the pepper and a bit of the mixture around the outside. And yeah. So this particular meal right here has about 325 calories, about 29 carbs, and about 19 grams of protein. So all in all, a pretty healthy and very filling meal. So let's try this. Ooh, still very, very hot. Oh, the gooey cheese melted on top of the couscous and the pork and everything else. That's fantastic. Well, I'm going to enjoy my lunch, supper, I guess now. So, see you next time.